Somewhere in the open ocean, far from major shipping lanes and far beyond any tourist map, lies one of the strangest landforms on the planet, an island that moves, not slowly eroding, not shifting from storms, but drifting year after year like a living creature crossing the sea. Scientists call it a transient island, locals call it cursed, but geologists, they call it a mystery that should not exist. Ordinary islands are fixed, they rise from volcanic activity, coral growth, or the accumulation of sediments. Once they form, they stay put, anchored to the sea floor, but this island doesn't obey that rule. Every year, satellite imagery shows it appearing in one location, and then months later, it's somewhere else entirely, drifting tens or even hundreds of kilometers. Sometimes it grows, sometimes it shrinks, sometimes it breaks into pieces, only to reform again. It behaves less like land, and honestly, more like a massive organism. Scientists were baffled. Islands don't migrate, continents drift over millions of years, but, no island moves fast enough to track within a human lifetime. And yet, here was one doing exactly that. The island first appeared in the 1980s, recorded by accident during a marine survey. At the time, it was roughly 1 kilometer long. Researchers assumed it was a sandbar or maybe a newly formed volcanic outcrop, but when a second expedition returned the following year, the island was gone. So, months later, a satellite pass found it again, about 50 kilometers southeast of its original location. That's when scientists realized they weren't dealing with a traditional island at all. Eventually, marine biologists uncovered the truth. The strange island is actually a massive floating ecosystem, formed from tightly packed pumice, mats of seaweed, drifting sediments, and layers of volcanic foam rock fused together by biological processes. The foundation of this structure is pumice, volcanic rock so light it can actually float. Under the right conditions, an undersea eruption can eject millions of pumice stones into the ocean. Over time, currents gather them into enormous rafts. But this island did something pumice rafts don't normally do. It became stable, it grew roots, it started behaving like land. The surface hardened as layers of algae coral fragments, shells, and trapped debris fused together. Seabirds nested, plants sprouted, crabs, insects, and even small mammals, washed in from distant continents, made it their home. It was no longer just a pumice raft, it was a floating island, hardened and alive. Most floating rafts wander aimlessly, pulled by whichever currents dominate, but this island has a pattern, a repeating yearly migration cycle. Every spring it drifts north, every autumn it returns south as if responding to some unseen force. Scientists eventually identified the culprit, a combination of powerful ocean currents and seasonal gyres acting on the low-density underside of the island. Think of it like a natural sailboat, except the sail is underwater. But even with this explanation, one detail remains unsettling. No other pumice raft in recorded history has ever lasted this long. Most break apart after months, but this one has survived for decades, growing, shrinking, but never dying. Because of its movement, this weird island has become a traveling sanctuary, carrying species across vast distances. Marine biologists observed unique evolutionary behaviors, plants pollinating across oceans, insects establishing temporary colonies, coral fragments hitchhiking and seeding new reefs, and microbial communities evolving in isolation. The island acts like a genetically diverse ark, a drifting laboratory no one can predict or control. Some researchers even propose that ancient life could have spread between continents on similar formations millions of years ago. In other words, this island might be a modern version of a mechanism that shaped Earth's biodiversity long before humans ever studied it. But not everyone sees this floating land as a harmless curiosity. some islands of this type become ecological invaders. If the drifting mass delivers aggressive species to a vulnerable coastline, it could destabilize entire ecosystems. Others worry the island could collide with shipping routes, damaging hulls or clogging engines. Stranger still, seismic scans show heat signatures beneath its origin point, suggesting a new volcanic system may be forming nearby. If a major eruption occurs, the ocean could produce even larger pumice rafts, potentially dozens of kilometers across. That could change coastlines, block ports, alter migration paths, and disrupt fishing economies. Or, in the best case, create new habitats for struggling species. For now, scientists are racing to study the island before it vanishes again. Some experts think the drifting island may not be a rare anomaly, but a sign of what's coming. Climate change is increasing volcanic activity in certain regions due to shifting pressures in the Earth's crust. More eruptions mean more pumice, and, well, more pumice means more floating landmasses. Imagine dozens of these islands forming worldwide, drifting like slow giants through the sea. So, what would that do to shipping lanes, and to ecosystems, and to geopolitics if a drifting island appears off a nation's coast? Right now this single island is, well, a bizarre curiosity. But in the future, it might actually be a warning. Every year, as it migrates across the sea, the island silently challenges our assumptions about land, life, and the boundaries between them. Is it a geological formation, or maybe a biological organism? Could it be a relic of volcanic fire? Or, is it actually a preview of Earth's next evolutionary experiment? Whatever it is, one thing's for sure. It isn't done moving. And somewhere out there in the open ocean, the island is drifting once again, growing, changing, and quietly carrying its secrets across the waves.